Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. A couple of videos ago I made a couple of crystal clusters using moulds I got from Temu. I really love the purple one, but the mould was not the best quality. If you saw the video, you'll remember that this has a very matte finish and has quite a lot of texture on it. So I'm going to see if I can fix this. I'm going to sand it back. I've got 3 different grits of sandpaper. I'm going to sand it back with water so that I'm not breathing in any of the fumes, and then I'm going to top coat it, and it's like literally unbelievable. Can't even do an intro without a cat. Slinky has decided he wants to sleep on my chair and he's going to have a disappointment in a moment. Anyway, as I was saying, this needs to be sanded back, and then I'm going to top coat it and see if that kind of brings a nice shine to this, because the colour's lovely. I'm not a fan of the base really, but if any of my top coat collects on the bottom here, it's not going to look bad because down here is just full of bubbles anyway. So I'm not overly worried about the bottom part. I'm not going to sand all of these bits. It's the tall pillars that I'm basically wanting to sand. So when I kind of went to get the sandpaper and was looking at this, it's not as bad as my brain was remembering it, so I think we can fix it. I'm going to have a damn good try. I've never sanded resin before beyond just tidying up any sharp overspill, so yeah, I think be prepared for making it worse before it gets better, but it's just a trust the process type of thing. So yeah, I'm gonna have a go at this and just be prepared for me feeling like I'm going to ruin it completely before it gets better. So fingers crossed, let's get started. So sorry for any reflections, but I've had to put my ring light on because it's going dark and the sun has just set, so it's going dark and the light in this room basically is not really hitting this very well. So this is just an empty plastic box just to catch the drips really, so that they don't run everywhere all over my desk. So I'm right-handed, but unfortunately my phone battery is low, so I'm having to put the camera on this side so I can keep it plugged in, because otherwise the camera will probably cut out before I'm finished. So I'm just going to dip the sandpaper in and just start going for it. So I'm just going to start on this side with my water. So this is quite a coarse grip, so I'm starting with 120. Yeah, that's already having an effect actually. And because this has ink pigment rather than mica powder, I'm not concerned about the colour getting affected by doing this. If this was mica powder, I'd be sanding the mica powder off at this point, so the colour will be fine. The colour's inside the resin, so that's all good. So the actual texture is not too bad. The biggest problem is the fact that this mould was a matte finish mould. So by doing this, I'm just getting rid of any slight imperfections that there were in the finish, because there are definitely some. And then when I go to the finer grit, it's just going to really come to life when I put the top coat on. I hope. That's the plan anyway. So this actually isn't going to take masses of sanding. I was kind of thinking it's going to be in for the long haul here, but I don't think it's going to be too bad. That didn't take long at all. So I've now got some 220, and I'm just gonna, to be honest, I reckon I could top coat over it right now, but I just want to make doubly sure that I'm giving it the best chance I can. I think this sandpaper is not actually wet dry sandpaper, but I am of course using it wet because I don't want to breathe in powdered resin. But it's getting soggy pretty darn quick, so I need to order some actual wet dry sandpaper. Just going to be easier to dip this in the water and rather than this get super soggy. So finally I've got some 600, which I believe is actually wet dry, so hopefully this will not disintegrate quite as quickly as the others. Now I need to really concentrate on where I'm up to so that I don't miss anything. This is now fully dry. I have masking taped off the base because I quite liked that and I didn't want any overspill to potentially cause blobs on here and me have to sand that again. So that's got masking tape on, which I'll peel off afterwards, and I'm going to sit it on here so if anything does go under, rather than spill out and me having to trim it, I should hopefully just be able to peel it all off. So my plan, I don't have a great deal of this Let's Resin left. And thanks, by the way, to people for giving me suggestions on what could be going wrong with my resin. When this says 16 ounces, it means 16 fluid ounces, not actual ounces. So I've been weighing this out and you can see that there is now an uneven amount in here because one liquid is heavier than the other. When you see ounces on something, you assume they're talking about actual weight. If it's fluid ounces, say fluid ounces, like it's not hard. I hate imperial anyway. I always work in mils and grams where possible. But anyway, I don't have a lot of this left. So what I'm going to do is measure how much this is in one of these beakers, pour the same amount of this out, mix them both together in the big one, and then all I can really do here is get my hands in and just get this messy. So I'm just going to have to pour a bit on, rub it all over. I've got my heat gun ready, so I will warm it up to get rid of bubbles and help it kind of flow. It's going to self-level and hopefully some of it will stay on. It is going to pool for sure, but I'm hoping that some of it is going to stick to the sides and just give me shiny. I just want this to have a shiny finish. So I've seen people using resin on vases, not on a cup turner, just leaving it upside down. So some of it will drain down, but I'm just hoping enough will stick on. So I'll get a spare pair. These, I reuse my gloves many times, so these are gross, but this is definitely going to be the last time because I'm going to be getting in there and giving it a squish around. So once I've taken those gloves off, if I've got any resin left, which I'm sure I will have, I'm just going to pour some butterfly sun catchers. So yeah, I will put my respirator on, ready to mix my resin. So if I talk you through the next step when I'm doing it, it will be a voiceover. So I'm going to mix my resin off camera and then I'll get started. So I started off just picking up my stirring stick and just popping a bit of resin onto each pillar. I tried spreading it with the stirring stick, but I knew I was going to have to get in there with my fingers. So once I'd got a bit of resin on each one, I just went in and just tried to spread that out over the entire column. And
I did end up missing a couple of bits because I had my goggles on and it's kind of hard to see what you're doing. But straight away, even from this far back, you can see what a different impact that resin is having when you put it on top of the sanded stuff. So I just kept going with that and spreading it out as best I could with my fingers and trying to pick up any drips and rub those on, but I knew that drips were going to pool. I gave it a quick hit with the heat gun to get rid of any surface bubbles. I didn't want to get it too hot and make it all flop onto the floor.
So I want to just try, before the resin is too solid, I want to try to get this masking tape off.
This tape really didn't want to come off. Obviously it's going to stick around the edge where there's been overspill, but I did eventually get it all to peel off. A different way of doing this is to use liquid latex, and that also will just peel off and get rid of any overspill.
So much better. Now, this is still not the best in terms of overall shape of these crystals. The crystals don't have like flat sides and the pointed bits are kind of a little bit rounded, but I don't mind that. Organic crystals, although nature can be very beautiful and perfect in some ways, a lot of natural forming geodes are not those perfectly symmetrical columns. But having that shiny top coat, I'll just ignore the fact that there's a cat hair on that one, honestly. So yeah, I'll bring you down to show you this up close. I think that is a vast improvement on what came before. You can kind of see the air bubbles inside a bit more, but again, I don't actually mind that. There are a few areas where the coverage is not perfectly uniform. Kind of hard to see what you're doing when you've got the goggles on. There are a couple of places where I've just missed, but next time I'm doing any resin I can just go over and do another coat on that. So yeah, I'd say that was a success. So it's good to know that if I'm doing anything else with this mould, that there is a way of bringing it back and making it look a little less nasty than it did before. So let me bring you down for a close-up.
So here's a quick reminder of what it looked like before. So you can see, although it's pretty, it's kind of matte finish, a little bit milky. So I wanted to show you this clip from the previous video just so you can see side by side. Now the next clip, the white balance is slightly different because the sunlight was in a different position, but you can straight away see the effect of that top coat. It looks so much better. I'm really happy with how this came out. The pillars are still not perfect, and that is just because of the way that the mould has been made. They're never going to have perfectly smooth sides, but just knowing I can do a quick sand and top coat in future, it looks great. And even the base now that I wasn't a fan of actually looks better now that everything's shiny and looks the same. So I am so happy with how this turned out. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, guys, and I will see you in the next one. Bye for now.